Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a very long time since I uploaded. I don't know, I just haven't had the time to really upload. So the last video I did was about me getting a pregnancy test and it coming out positive. It was so very faint. Couple weeks later after that, I went to the doctor's appointment and I found out that I was barely about 6 weeks. So when I found out, I could swear I probably was like 3 to 4 weeks pregnant. That's why it was very light. Um, After that appointment, they gave me an ultrasound. Um, I got to see my little baby. It was so little and small. And then that's when the whole pandemic hit as well. And I stopped working. Everybody was just on furlough. So, I mean, I wasn't working at all. I was just home with my kids. And that's when my kids got on the whole Zoom online learning, which was so freaking irritating. Like, it's so irritating because, your kids in school, they kind of have a hard time with their teacher, but it's better because it's like one-on-one. They could teach them if they have a hard time. Right here is just like they have to be on a computer. They have to be looking at the computer. The screen has to be on. And I can't raise my voice or tell them to pay attention, because if their mic is on, then there goes that. And then the teacher's going to hear you scolding your child and telling them to sit their behinds down and pay attention. So a couple times, I mean, it just got so frustrating to where it's like, sit. And now I see how the teachers and the staff deal with these kids, because I only had them for like a year here at the house, full on under Zoom, online learning. And oh my God, the things they go through. I kudos to all the teachers, all the staff, because children in school, like during school and having to work on, things on school, like kudos. It goes out to you. That's why we send them to y'all. um okay, so that happened. So I was just basically going through it, being pregnant in a pandemic, in distant learning with my children. So I was basically home all the time, and I didn't want to go out either because I was scared at first. You know how they put that whole thing out there? It's like, don't go out, wear your mask, don't be around a lot of people. So me, I was like, okay, I have 2 kids under 10. I want to be at home. And then I'm pregnant, and it's like, I do not want to get sick. I don't want to be out there with anybody who is sick. So I was just staying at home. And at that time, my husband was in Michigan. So he was in Michigan, and we were out here in LA. He went out there to, work, find work, and just see how life is out there, because he says it's better. He was out there when he was more younger. So he's like, I'm gonna find more work. And he just had very high hopes. And so he did find work out there. He was working out there. He was making good money. And me, I was never supposed to go out there. Never supposed to travel out there. But, I ended up going out there. So in July, okay, before July, in August, I think it was August, or before that, May. I don't know which one, but May, we were supposed to go out there. On the way to the park, I walked my kids to the park, because we live next to a little park by like a police station and city hall, and we were on their scooters. So they were scootering their way over there to the park. On the way to the park, my oldest son hits like a grass hedge, and falls. Like he like went forward, flew, and fell. And it's not an electric scooter, it's just like the manual scooters that you have to scoot your way over there. He falls. He lands on his wrist, and at that point I'm just like, Logan, get up. I was like, stop all that crying, get up, let's go. He's like, I broke my arm, I broke my arm. And I'm like, Logan, relax. Because usually my oldest son, dude, he's so dramatic. He's the most dramatic person in the entire world. Don't ask me why. He has my attitude. He has some of my husband's attitude. He has his own attitude at that. So he falls, right? And we're like, okay, we're already on the way to the park. My other son wants to go to the park. So I'm like, let's go to the park. He doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to sit down. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I had like an ice water. So I put the ice water on top of his wrist because it looked really swollen. So we go home, we do our daily thing, and then the next day we went to Starbucks, and I looked at his wrist again, and it just looked really like swollen still. So I'm like, damn, did you break your arm? Because when I touched it, it didn't feel like nothing's broken, nothing's loose. So that's why I thought like nothing. It's nothing, because he falls all the time. And he's not little. He's almost 5 feet, because he's up to my shoulders. And I'm exactly 5. And he weighs about like freaking 80 something pounds. He's not like, he's not a big boy. He's husky. He's just built. That's how he's built. So I guess when he fell on it, his weight hurt his little wrist. And I took him to the emergency room. The emergency room, they took x-rays, and he ended up fracturing his little bone. But it's an emergency room, so it's like they can't really tell me much about it. So then I took him to the bone doctor. So then we went to the bone doctor, and they did more x-rays, and they were able to see exactly what happened. I guess the cartilage by his wrist, on his wrist, bent and kind of cracked a little bit, but nothing too severe, so thank God. But he ended up having to get a cast on. So we weren't able to go to Michigan at the time. So then give it a month, he was able to take the cast off, and his bone, healed itself. You know, everything was fine. And then like a week later or 2 weeks later, we went on the plane. And it was difficult, because I'm just like, man, I don't want to go on the plane. You just can't really trust anything, just like, now what? Like, now I had to go on the plane. So we went on the plane, went to Michigan, and Michigan was very beautiful. Being able to stay out there for like a month and seeing everything was like, it was nice. So I mean, I can't complain about that. It was very beautiful. Took a lot of nice pictures and all these types of things. Like, it was very nice. But there's really nothing to do out there. Like, if you're not working out there, or going to school, or doing anything out there, there's nothing to do out there, like, at all. And at that time, Michigan wasn't like on mandatory where you have to lock down, where you have to put on your mask, or where it's like you could function normally without having to wear a mask. But towards the end, that's when they were like, okay, we're gonna go on lockdown, and now in the stores you had to wear masks. And if they said that if you were caught without a mask on the streets, that you'll get fined like $500 and all this type of stuff. So I'm like, all right. But since we were from LA, we're like, hell no, we're gonna still wear a mask, like me and my kids. My husband was like, why are you guys wearing a mask? And I'm like, bro, you know, in LA we wear masks. I was like, no matter what they say, we're gonna wear masks. So we wore the mask regardless. And then I was pregnant. I think I was about 25 weeks pregnant when I went there. When I left, I was, I think, 29, almost 30. So I left, came back to LA. Still going to my doctor's appointments. Doing everything that I need to do. The thing too that I regret is not being very active. This pregnancy, I was not active at all. I just wanted to lay down and sleep. I did some walking here and there, but it's not like how I was when I was pregnant with my 2 boys. When I was pregnant with my 2 boys, I walked everywhere. I did squats. I bought a ball and bounced on the ball and did like all these types of things. And when it was time to give birth, it was so easy because, I loosened myself up, my muscles up, so I wasn't so tensed. This time around, I was so big. My end weight for being pregnant was about 160. And that's normal to me because on my boys, I was about 165, 160. So it's like normal weight for me to gain. I started off being 106. So I was 106 when I started my whole pregnancy. And when I, at the end was about 160, 155, 160. So, I don't know. I just wasn't that active. So, a tip to everybody or anybody who's pregnant: exercise and do your daily walks, because in the end, when you give birth, that's where it all counts. And that just wasn't the case for me. I just wanted to stay home. And I'm telling you, like, the pandemic, like, I didn't want to walk anymore. I didn't want to go anywhere. I was at home. My kids were home. We were all just home. And we were waiting for my husband to get back from Michigan. So I was due in October. October 21st. That's my due date. I told him to come. He was down here in September for my son's birthday. And then after like a week, he went back up there. And then he had to get everything that he had to do. And he drove back from Michigan to over here in LA. It's like a 2-day drive, 3-day tops. So he did that. He brought all his stuff back from Michigan. October hit, our anniversary came. Our anniversary is on October 5th. That's our anniversary of how long we've been together. So that marked 10 years. So we've been together for a whole decade. We had our 1-year wedding anniversary in July on my birthday, which is July 10. So yeah, we got married on my birthday. So all that happened. Honestly, kept getting contractions, or the Braxton Hicks contractions, literally all October. I felt like I was getting the crotch lightning or something, lightning pains that they say that you get. I was getting them so bad, like so bad. It was so painful. And we went to the park, and my husband came back already. Like, I think he came back on the 10th. Yeah. somewhere around there. And we were going to the park, walking, and making me walk and all these types of things, just getting everything that we needed to get it out the way. So that happened. And you know I was just getting contractions, and then that's when the 17 came. No, the 15 came, and I went to the emergency room because I was just getting really bad contractions or pains, and they sent me home. When I went to my doctor's appointment, they will check me, right? They will see how open my cervix was, and on that day I had an appointment, and they checked my cervix, and I was about, I think it was 2 centimeters dilated. And when they did that, after that, I was just getting pains throughout the whole day. So then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just go to the emergency room because maybe that activated my contractions. But when I went, they checked me and they did they put the heartbeat and the contraction monitor on me, and I wasn't dilating anymore, and I wasn't getting any more contractions to where I had to stay. And I was already 37 weeks, so um it was already out. If the baby wanted to come, she would have came, right? And then the 17 came, and I was just having the worst pains. So then I went again to the emergency room. They checked me. I was 3 centimeters dilated, but I wasn't dilating anymore, and I wasn't having any big contractions, so they sent me home. And then the morning on Monday, the 19th, I was having pains. At 5 a.m., I woke up. I was having pains. Like, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything without having pains. And then throughout the day, I think it was around 8 o'clock when I got up to get up my kids for school. And I was washing dishes, and I was just having contractions. And I would time them, and they were like apart. They're probably like 7 minutes apart. And it was crazy because I was like, okay, I think I am dilating. Like, if I feel like I'm contracting and possibly dilating because my cervix down there, it just felt like painful. And this is my third child, so I'm like, okay, I know the feeling, I know how it feels, so I know that it's probably time. My husband was at work, so I told him, like, okay, I think today's a day that I'm gonna give birth. And he came back. He took me to the hospital. They put me on the monitor, and at that time I was having really, really big contractions. I was contracting, and I was dilated at a 5. So they kept me. They made me do the COVID test. They put it in both of my nose. They put it in all the way, counted to 5, twisted it, and then took it out, and then did the same thing with this one, with a different one. So I'm just like, it burned. It was like fucking horrible. I waited an hour to get those results. Once the results came in back, I was negative, and they put me in a room. After I was in the room, they did not let me get out the bed. So they didn't let me walk around. They didn't let me do any of that stuff. So I was just in bed, and I was think I was dilated at a 6 at that point. I didn't get any epidural at the time. I wanted to see how long I would be able to go without the epidural, because I didn't want the epidural at all. For my second son, I didn't have to take an epidural. I just gave birth like that to him. My first son, I did get the epidural. I was like 17 at the time, so the pain was just unbearable for me. So I requested it. This time around, my husband was in the room and he's like, "Do you want an epidural?" I said, "No, not yet. I don't want to take the epidural yet." They gave me ice chips because I was like really thirsty. So they gave me some, and then I had to pee, but they didn't let me get up to go to the bathroom. They wanted to stick something under my butt, but like the contractions were like going, so I couldn't really. At that point, they at that point, I didn't want the epidural still. The contractions are fucking painful. They kept checking to see how much I was dilating. They said that they needed to give me the pitocin or something like that to make the contraction stronger for me to dilate faster. So they gave me that in my system, and then they popped my bag because it hadn't popped yet. So once they popped the bag, they gave me the medicine. Then they left. Then they came back like 30 minutes later to check me, and I was dilated at an 8. So I was, dilating, and my contractions were so bad. The baby was still high, very high up in my belly. So my boobs, and then she was just right under my boobs. Like, she wasn't coming down. She wasn't doing none of that. So when I hit 10 centimeters, she was still high up. Like, she was high up, and instead of looking down, she was looking up. So they had to wait until the baby fully rotated to push, or else it would have been a whole other issue. And then when they came in, there was some nurse who wasn't my nurse. She came in, she checked my cervix. When she was checking my cervix, I don't know what the hell she was doing down there. She would like open me up and push down towards like my freaking butthole. And oh my god, it hurt so bad. Like, she was trying like making me poop myself. So she'll open me up, and then push down towards my butthole. And oh my god, I literally was gonna kick her in the head because she hurt me really bad. And I was like telling her, like, what the hell? And I was like, that hurts. And at that point, I was like, I need to pee. So they tried to put a catheter in me. I'm guessing they couldn't put it in me because, it wasn't in me. So they're like, we're gonna have to put a catheter in you because you probably have to pee and it's not letting you push right. So they tried to put it in the first time. It wasn't going in. And they left. So then I was bleeding. I turned on my fours on the bed where you give birth, and I saw blood coming down. And then at that point, I was just in so much pain that I told them, like, okay, I want the epidural. I was already 10 centimeters dilated. They're like, okay, we need to push. I was like, no, I need the epidural. I was like, it hurts too much. I can't push. I can't think about nothing more than the pain. So we had to wait because the anesthetic person that did it was somewhere else. So I had to wait. And he was able to come give me the epidural. So I got the epidural. The pain was going away. They ended up having to put a catheter in me. So they ended up putting a catheter in me. They taped it to my leg. So I was able to pee. So I got the epidural. They put a catheter inside me. And that's when the doctor came in. She's like, okay, you need to start pushing now. The baby's heartbeat was fine. And the oxygen levels was fine. So after that, it was time to push. And I was pushing it. It was so much easier. It was kind of like a crazy story because a crazy experience as well, just because the since the baby wasn't low and wasn't moving towards my cervix, my canal to come out, that's why it was so painful for me to have the baby, because she wasn't coming down, she wasn't dropping, she was still very high up in my stomach. So once I had hit 10 centimeters and I was pushing, she did not want to come out. Like, she was still high up there. Like, it was so painful. Like, I would have had her already, probably without any anesthetic, nothing, but she just didn't want to come out. And that's what was hurting so bad, because having to push, having them open me up, or like to grab the baby, like, it was just so painful. And that nurse who came in and fucking opened me up and pushed down towards my butthole, that's all the pain that I felt. Like, that, like, was just excruciating. It was just the worst feeling ever. And at around 6:17 p.m., I ended up having the baby. I was fully numb from the legs because of the epidural. I gave birth. I got a little cut, because from your anus to your, the vagina, the cervix, where the baby comes out, there's a little piece of meat. Usually the surgeon cuts that if to take the baby out, but my doctor, she didn't cut me, but I ended up ripping a little bit. For my boys, the surgeon, cut me a little bit so that way the baby would come out. This time she decided not to cut me, but I ended up cutting myself, like opening up a little bit. So that happened, and I had the baby. They put the baby on me. Was giving, just right there talking to the baby and whatnot, and then I found out that, well, the first time that they tried to put the catheter in, because the doctor took out my catheter, and then they were stitching me up down there, and then they seen that under my clitoris, above the hole that I pee out of, there was like a cut. And that was because the first time that they tried to put the catheter in me, they cut me trying to put the catheter inside of me. So the doctor had to stitch that up, and it was like I just kept bleeding, and losing a lot of blood. And they stitched me up, and thank God they stitched me up, and I didn't have to get a blood infusion or get any blood, because I had lost like about 1 liter of blood. Not too much to where I had to get more blood put in me. Thank God. So that happened. And then they weighed the baby. The baby weighed about 8 pounds, 9 ounces. So she was a big baby. I didn't think she was going to be that big. I thought she was going to be the size like my sons. My first son was 7'3". My second was 7'6". She was 8'9". And she wasn't even past her due date or nothing. Her due date was the 21st, and I had her the 19th. So I went in around like 9 a.m. She didn't come out until 6:17 p.m. So it was a pretty long process. When I had the baby, they put her on me. We're, getting some time together. And then, I put her on my breast and she latched. But after that latch, I was having a very hard time keeping her on there. My nipples weren't like out like this. They were like more in. They're more in. So it was like more of a hassle to have her grab a hold of them. and she would do this with her tongue. So it's like her tongue was up here, and it was kind of hard at first. I had to use a nipple shield, where it's those little things, plastics, where you put over your nipple so she could suck out the nipple to, and the milk to come out. And at first I was getting blisters, and I was crying, I was clenching my toes, and I was like, I don't want to give her formula. Like, I want to at least try my best to do it. So, that's what happened. She ended up having her 2 poops. They have to have 2 poops in order, and like 4 pees in order for her to be considered to leave the hospital. Because if she doesn't poop or pee, then that's like more time to stay in the hospital, and I didn't want that. I wanted to go home already. So thankfully that she did, so that next day around the same time I gave birth, I was able to go home. So we went home, and then we're just home for a while. She was still breastfeeding. I was still breastfeeding her with the nipple shield. She ended up having like slight jaundice where her skin is yellow. So I had to get her bilirubin test again, and her levels were about a 16. Nothing more over to where she had to be hospitalized, thank God. So I would just put her in the sun, and in the window where the sun hits, because too much of the sun outside is bad. So they want like indirect. They don't want direct, they want indirect, like where the sun hits out in the window. So I did that, and her levels were dropping. And then it takes longer, they said, for the babies who are breastfeeding, the jaundice to go down rather than formula. So that happened. So her jaundice went away. I was still having kind of a hard time with the whole breastfeeding thing. So then I was like, am I making enough milk? Am I doing this right? So am I doing this right? So my mom bought me a pump. Then she would buy me those little cookies to lactate. So I would pump. And I was so discouraged because I was like, man, why am I not producing a lot of milk? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I produce a lot of milk? So then I was just like battling it out with myself. I didn't want to put too much pressure on myself, because I didn't want to go into full-on depression with the whole postpartum thing. So I just gave myself a break. I didn't put too much pressure on myself, and I didn't have a problem with the baby blues. So I was happy about that, because being distracted too with my kids and then her, it wasn't giving me enough time to feel sorry for myself. So I was blessed with that, because I didn't think about it too much, because I had so much other things to do. But after that, I was producing a lot of milk, because I was eating oatmeal. I bought the brewer's yeast, things to go inside of like milkshakes and whatnot. And I took the baby to her. When I took the baby to her appointment, her first appointment, her birth weight was 8'9", and then when I went to the doctor, she was 8'2". So she didn't lose a lot of weight. She was doing very good on the weight. So I was happy. And honestly, it's been smooth sailing after that. So I had a girl. I named her Elibeth, Ellibeth, Elibeth Ayana Salas. That's her full name. Right now, she's going to be 2 months on the 19th. She's very, very beautiful. She came out with the head full of hair. Full of hair. Like, look at this hair. Look at this. She's such a big girl. And I'm still breastfeeding. It's going very good. She latches, she drinks. There's times where my milk flow is so fast that she chokes, and it scares me so much. And I have to tell her, like, Mamas, you need to slow it down. It's not going nowhere. You know, relax. And just have to pat her back and like kind of blow in her face a little bit, so that way she could like get a little bit of air, because that's how much she chokes, guys. Like, it's scary. So yeah, she's starting to fit in her 3 months outfits. This clothes right here are 3 months, but they're already fitting her pretty like tight, because I don't know, she's just getting really big. Like, she's really big. She was 20 inches long when I had her. She honestly looks like a big girl, guys. Like, she looks like 3 to 4 months, and she's barely gonna be 2 months. She's such a big girl, and my boys are in love with her. I'm in love with her. My husband's in love with her. All our family's in love with her. She's amazing, guys. She's such a sweet baby. She mad dogs everybody. That's her signature, like, mad doggy. She'll be like, and then it's just so funny because she's like, why are you mad dogging, girl? Why are you mad dogging? But she's really good. Really, really good. She's the best. The best. The best. So yeah, that's like my story. This is my daughter. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna leave you guys at that. If you have any questions, just leave them down in the comment section. All right, bye.